Good morning, Indy fans. It's Friday the 12th of March 2021 and it's time for Boris's Best of British Bulletin, episode 34 with me, DaviePHD. In Scots Unionist news, well, it's been another great week for Dross MP. After the great honour of being crowned DaviePHD's Cunt of the Week, his vote of no confidence in John Swinney has failed, and it was gratifying to see this speech from Patrick Harvie of the Scottish Greens, clearly stating what needed to be said.
The Conservatives in particular have allowed a committee inquiry which should be focused on serious matters to descend to political farce. And why? I think it's because they have nothing else to offer the people of Scotland, no positive vision of our country's future. All they have is a desperate attempt to weave conspiracy theories. In appearing to take as unquestionable truth every word that came from the lips of Alex Salmond, they've ended up sounding exactly the same as the StuAnon cultists of Mr. Salmond's own fan base. Both the former First Minister's behaviour and the government's attitude throughout this inquiry have played a large part in this debacle. But those using conspiracy theories to attack their opponents or promoting delusional ideas of Scotland being some kind of corrupt, failed state, really need to ask themselves how on earth they ever expect to lift Scottish politics up from this low point they have brought us to. Presiding Officer, when the committee finally produces its long overdue report, I will be looking only at the issues of substance, which address the question of why complainants raising allegations of harassment were failed and how we can ensure that this never happens again. I sincerely hope that the committee chooses, even at this late stage, to focus on that. The shallow game of winning political scalps should not be anyone's priority, and the Greens will have no part in it.
Of course, Dross MP was not grateful for this wake-up call, so he launched this attack on Patrick Harvie and the Scottish Greens. Yes, if there's one thing Dross MP can't stand, it's parties working together to defeat a common enemy. Unless, of course, it's his branch office. As we can see here, when Scottish Labour were looking to appoint a new branch office supervisor earlier in the year, Dross MP sniffed an opportunity to get the old Better Together band back together and defeat those pesky nationalists. But thankfully, both Labour candidates sniffed the foul stench of hypocrisy approaching and remembered the ongoing stench of shit they got themselves into when jumping into bed with them before. So, according to the logic of Dross MP, only Conservatives are allowed to enter into coalitions and or cooperate with other parties. Only Conservatives are allowed to speak using nuance and context. And everyone but Conservatives must be honest with Parliament and comply with ministerial codes. And of course, to date, Dross MP still has not filed a vote of no confidence in Boris Johnson in the Parliament where he actually fucking works. I can hardly wait for next week when his similar vote of no confidence planned for Nicola Sturgeon also gets kicked to the curb. In Scottish Labour news, new branch office supervisor Anas Sarwar has intervened in a candidate for the forthcoming Scottish election has been deselected as she supports a second independence referendum. Holly Cameron was due to contest a Glasgow Kelvin seat for Scottish Labour in the upcoming election, but following an interview where she expressed support for a referendum sometime in the future, she has been deselected by a party panel against the wishes of the local party who selected her. Now, Cameron was running in a constituency where over 60% of people voted for pro-independence parties at the last Holyrood election, so that's going to go well then. Just like Dross MP has failed to raise the Scots Tory branch office's polling numbers since succeeding Jackson Coleslaw, Labour too are not really helping themselves. I wonder which cruel nicknames Anas Sarwar... Sorry, did I say Anas Sarwar? I meant to say Anas Sarwar. My apologies. Anyway, I wonder which cruel nicknames he, just like Dross MP, will have to endure. In UK unionist news, it's been a great week for Mad Hancock, as it was found his department signed 2 personal protective equipment deals worth more than £90 million with a Chinese firm listed at a hotel room in Beijing. The Department of Health and Social Care struck 2 lucrative contracts during the first coronavirus wave with Beijing Glory Union Investment Co. Limited, whose address is listed as Room 9401A, Yubin Hotel, No. 9, Fuwai Street, Jixing District, Beijing. These documents didn't reveal what would happen to the money if the company checked out of their hotel room. In Baroness Dido fucking Harding news, the UK government has been accused of treating taxpayers like an ATM machine and wasting billions of pounds on projects which have made no measurable difference to the pandemic by the Westminster Public Accounts Committee, or PAC. The committee's report takes issue with the £37 billion which has been allocated to fund England's NHS test and trace since May 2020. Despite the NHS name, the project is largely an outsourced programme involving at least 22 private companies. The committee chair, Labour MP Meg Hillier, said that despite the unimaginable resources thrown at this project, NHS test and trace cannot point to a measurable difference to the progress of the pandemic. Now, I did query the appointment of Baroness Dido fucking Harding at the time. Maybe next time there's a pandemic, we could get the singer Dido to run it. I mean, she couldn't do any worse, could she? And all of this just leaves me with one question. Are you yes yet? Stay classy, Scotland. DaviePHD.
SNP for a stronger Scotland. SNP for a stronger Scotland. SNP for a stronger Scotland.